Hello everyone, thanks for coming to my presentation on CSS gradients. My name is Brittany Herrera and I am in this CIT 230 class with Professor Odom. If you're like me, you're just getting introduced to what a gradient is, this was a fun topic to look into. This website might not be the best one to look at for a definition, but I did find it was the most simple way to describe a gradient. Most of the websites wanted to mention that a gradient is not a color. It's actually two or more colors, and so it's not defined as a color. And it's two or more colors that fade from one to another. Mainly used for the background images, buttons, and other things like that. So types of gradients, linear gradients, and they go, down and up, left and right, and diagonally. And radial gradients they're defined by the center. So a top to bottom gradient is going to look something like this picture here, where the blue is at the top and it's fading to white. The code for doing something like that is at the bottom, but the picture doesn't represent the code. So like when you see red, you would want to edit that. The code came from W3 Schools and my image wasn't from there. And here's a linear gradient from left to right. See how the green fades into yellow? And again, here's the code from W3 Schools. The linear gradient that's diagonal is like this picture. It starts with black in the corner, goes to white in the bottom corner. And the code for that's there at the bottom. And using multiple color stops, this was a neat one because you can see that the red fades to a yellow, and then in the middle there's an orange color because it's fading. Then the yellow is going to be fading to a green, and there's a lighter green in the middle. So it's more, it seems like the middle is the center point, but really there's a lot multiple color stops there. Transparency gradients are neat. In this picture, it's kind of against the slide I have, so it doesn't look as transparent, but if I had a white background, you would see that the red is fading into the white. There's actually two colors there, but if the background is the same, it may look like just one fading into the other. Repeating linear gradients, I really like this one because some of the ones when I looked online, they just look like images of something up close, and I thought this one was really cool, and it looked like metal bars, but it's really just white and black and gray repeating, and it's a neat picture. And the code for doing something like that is here. And again, the code is from W3 Schools, and the images are just from the internet, so they may need to be edited to do the same as the picture shows. Radial gradient is the second type of gradient, and that's based on the center being the spot. So you can see that red starts from the center and it fades out to blue. And then there's the differently spaced color stops. So you can see like there's more blue in some areas, more red, but they're not evenly spaced. And you can look more online to see some more examples of it. And the set shape radial gradient, so ellipse and circles that's in the definition that I had. And so it kind of does look like an eclipse, like if you can imagine the sun and the moon when they line up, you kind of see an outline. And it can take one of these two values, and so I thought this picture was representing it well. And the repeating radial gradient, that is just as cool as the linear repeating gradient. If you look online at these, I've seen these for years, but didn't know it was really a gradient, I guess. But it kind of almost makes you feel a little sick when you stare at it too long, because some of the images actually look like they move. This one doesn't, but there are other ones, if you stared at it too long, just the repeating pattern kind of gets to you. And the code for doing something like that is at the bottom here. So the radial gradients, when you use a size for the keywords, W3 Schools does a great job at explaining. And so I just gave you a screenshot here of when you change the size keywords, the closest side, furthest side, closest corner, further corner, you're going to see how that image changes. And they did a great example here on how to make that look different. And when I was doing the research on the gradients, they couldn't mention enough how the browser really does affect how these come across. Chrome is one of the most recommended and seems to show most of the detail correctly. We should all, I think, have Chrome or something similar, as the professor wanted us to download it, make sure that we had the developer tools on it. So I think we're probably all seeing the same images, but if some of these images aren't coming across the same way, the web browser is going to make things look different. Some more information on using the browser. So the gradients, they're generated by the browsers, and that's why the browser affects how it displays. They do say that the gradients look better when you zoom in. I found this cool website that helps play around with the effects. So you can click on a color and it'll show you how the gradient will appear based on what you're clicking on and how you adjust it. So it's a fun one to play with. And I have the site listed on the last slide I have here. So thank you so much for coming. I enjoyed learning about gradients, and W3 Schools is very helpful. They gave me most of my information, and they are fun because you can play around with the code and see how it affects the way the image comes up. Developer.mozilla.org, that's a great website. I don't know if you found that one yet. Has a lot of great information and a lot of code in there to help you play around with. CSStricks.com was another one. And then the last one I just showed you was Colorzilla.com. And that one was how to adjust the gradients and what effect it would have. So the CSStricks.com, that had a lot of fun things to look at. And any of these really, they're just great websites to get some information from. But I did have a good time learning about gradients, and I hope that this presentation was helpful. Please feel free to comment in the discussion board. Add anything that you feel I left out or maybe I needed to edit. I'm always up for learning some more things. And thanks again, and let me know what you think.